Oh my god.
ये क्या करवाया जा रहा है?
I'm conscious now.
और उसने प्रगति को कसकर पकड़ लिया और जोर से चूमने लगा. ये क्या है?
Because she wasn't wearing underwear. And lovely.
Yoni.
घुटने मोड़े और टांगे.
Jostling them together. Cleavage.
They know and love the texture of
My C word. Oh wow.
Who do you think is the writer, a man or a woman?
This is definitely a female writer.
You're not sexualizing this person.
Women has written it because I am a woman, so I know.
मेरी ऐसी थिंकिंग ही है कि ऐसे कुछ लिखेगा तो कोई लड़का ही लिखेगा.
Wait a minute.
So I wrote a story about a woman who seduced her husband during Ganpati festival.
Of everything I've written, I think the one on Office Quickies is my favorite.
I am happy to call myself a porn writer. If porn is bold and underlined, erotica is bold, underlined and italics.
Erotica is subjective, right? From Madonna's to Jay Jackson songs, sex comics to reading stories, novels or magazines, basically everything that arouses sexual feelings. In India, sexual expressions are generally not welcomed and frowned upon. And oh god, women talking about sex and desires either frightens or offends people. So with the risk of offending people, we are going to talk about women who write erotica. Nandani from Ratnagiri writes erotica in Marathi. Sanjana from Mumbai writes erotica in English. And Manisha from Mumbai writes erotica and soft porn in Hindi. Shame, blame and censors never stopped women from writing erotica, where women are more than just conduits of pleasure. They are the story. And yet, for reasons known to all of us, women's pleasure continue to be taboo.
You're ruining Indian culture is one of the most common accusations I've received.
Publishers or the directors, they expect man to make the first move. They're not comfortable with women making a first move or inviting someone for sex.
When we write, at least we are able to express the real desires of women, what we like and how we like it.
So, how are these women keeping erotica real and relatable for their readers?
Erotica, sex and love or just intimacy isn't always beautiful and romanticized as it is shown in popular culture. It's a lot of grime, it's a lot of sweat, it's a lot of body hair, it's a lot of sex in small places. So that's something that I wanted to keep alive in my writing, and I was trying to do that without it being completely off-putting.
In my stories, woman has the command on the whole scene, her life. I try to give my woman character that power that she wants to decide who she wants to sleep with.
My characters are, they like each other. They are having sex because they like each other. It's not something, which just happens. The expectation is not that, I look at any girl, she looks back at me and we can have sex. That expectation should not be rooted in any erotica.
Let's be real, not everybody has like a chisel frame, six-pack, great jawline, amazing chest. We all have saggy breasts, floppy stomachs, bald patches. So that's something that I would love and I do kind of keep in mind when I am writing my books.
I never portray my own morals or my own ideology on them. If my character is a promiscuous woman and she wants to have sex with multiple partners at the same time, I won't tone it down because I will never do it in my own life.
I think it was my mother who insisted that I don't write under a pseudonym. She's like, you should be proud of what you write, and hell yeah, I am really proud of what I write. It's read, it's downloaded.
ती 2-1 पावलं त्याच्या बाजूने पुढे सरकली. त्यानं दोन्ही हातांनी टेबलांच्या कडा घट्ट धरून ठेवल्या होत्या. तिच्या चेहऱ्यावर तिच्याही नकळत हसू आलं. I chose to write in Marathi because I can express myself in Marathi very well. My husband never reads my stories. So he had absolutely no idea that I have written an erotica. When it got published and the poster was quite suggestive for that one, then he thought that okay, what you have written, I would like to read it.
1-2 रातों के बाद उसको रियलाइज़ होता है कि उसे सेक्स करने से ज़्यादा सेक्स देखकर ठरक मचती है. दूसरी ओर उसकी बीवी परेशान रहती है और रवि से इस बारे में बात करती है. रवि की बीवी ट्रूथ एंड डेयर के खेल में रवि को अपने फैंटेसी के बारे में बताती है.
If these pictures made you feel uncomfortable, then you understand the shame that surrounds erotica. But the droves of people that consume it actually tells you that it's not all that shameful. But you do you, friends. Privately read stories or listen to audio stories on your smartphone. And turn up the volume of your pleasure, even in your regional language. Really, digital platforms have opened doors for writers to reimagine erotic fiction in India. There's something for everyone.
So platforms like Juggernaut, Storytel, Headphone, they have an elite consumer. They're not making it for masses. Before I started to write with Storytel, I did not know what a honeypot is. Honeypot for me is just a honeypot. I could not even remotely think of a vagina can be called a honeypot.
Eroticas are provocative. They should arouse you, but they're not the way porn is treated. That rawness and that is something completely different.
It's now being written by women. It's being written by women in regional languages. And that in itself, I think, cracks open so many other barriers and opens so many other doors. And quite honestly, erotica written by women, really anything free from male gaze, I think is always a good idea.
Men write it from a very gendered lens. Like, unke liye the pleasure is for the man.
For example, there's a lot of stuff on Bhabhi. Okay, that's a man's fantasy. That's not a woman's fantasy.
For instance, if you just think about the description of breasts, men tend to describe breasts as these perfect twins, which women know is never the case.
But beyond that, in nuances, I feel women access things like these a lot more than men.
But how many Indian women are really reading erotica?
I think it is still largely read by men because they are the primary consumers. But yes, women are also reading it as the content is reaching them.
People are really happy to see women writers because they want to get a woman's perspective, which they generally don't get.
We are acknowledging different sexualities, sexual identities, which is happening again for the first time in our society. It's a very good transition phase where we are going towards something which will have a voice for everyone.
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey
50 Shades of Grey was a thing.
Who has to read the whole thing? We would just dog ear the pages.
kind of knew how much of the book I need to open to get an idea and quickly flip through. And okay, admittedly, I read them more than once.
I've grown up in UP where Mastram was a thing.
इसको कोई मजे के लिए पढ़ना चाहे तो शायद हिंदी में ज़्यादा मजा आएगा.
Yeah, the Hindi one is definitely more titillating, and at the risk of sounding strange, but I feel that the Hindi one is more titillating for women as well as men. The English one is more poetic, probably less titillating for women, and 100% men will not read this.
The language of sensuality has never been Hindi.
Hindi doesn't bring out the warmth because we have used that as slurs in all our life. So they don't arouse a feeling.
It's quite clear that sexual arousal differs from person to person, whether it's Hindi, English, raw, romantic, smut or fluff. The amazing thing is that women are overcoming shame of talking about their desires, and as more women are writing erotica, they are also becoming the center of it. What has changed is that now a collective expression and relatability about pleasure and sexuality is showing in our literature, which was earlier missing. And not just for women, stories of queer love are also finding a voice.